Hi, my name's Anne Griffiths and I'm making a series of videos primarily to go with my machine embroidery distance course, which you can find details of at www.pocketmouse.co.uk. But I hope they'll also be useful for anybody that's starting off in machine embroidery. In this first unit I want to cover threading up the machine, looking at the bobbin tension, covering or lowering the feed dog and 2 of the presser feet. The first thing I want to talk about is threading up the machine, and you do this in exactly the same way for free machining as you would for dressmaking. You can see here I've got a dressmaking foot on, which needs to be in the up position for threading up, and the needle needs to be raised to its highest point. It's very important that you remember to lift that presser foot up, because if you don't, when you begin to stitch you'll get loops of the top thread on the back of the fabric. The presser foot's up and the presser foot's down. Now that's very easy to see with a normal presser foot on. However, when you come to do free machining and you have a darning foot on, if I just swap them over now, a darning foot up and a darning foot down. You can see with the darning foot on and the presser foot down, there's still a gap here between the bottom of the foot and the plate. It's not too difficult to see on this machine, but on some machines it's much harder to see the difference between the darning foot up and the darning foot down. You'll have to refer to your own manual for how to thread up your machine, but generally the idea is the same. The thread goes through a guide at the back, down, up through the tension discs, down, round another guide and through the needle, and take the thread to the back. This machine has actually got an automatic needle threader on it, but to be quite honest I think I'd rather do it myself. You will have to refer to the manual for your machine as to see how to wind the bobbin, but when you do, make sure it's wound evenly and you're not tempted to wind over the remains of an old thread. If you do, it won't come off the bobbin evenly and you'll have a bad quality of stitch. The bobbin now is inserted into the case like that. It should turn clockwise and the thread needs to go down through this slot here, round and engage. It can now be inserted into the machine, but before I do, I just want to talk a little bit about the tension screw here. On this bobbin case you can see there's a screw here. Now that screw is for the bobbin tension. I can't really stress enough how much I would not change that bobbin tension unless I had a spare bobbin. You'll never get it back to the factory settings and it will drive you crazy trying to do dressmaking with a bobbin case that's been adjusted. If you want to, and you probably will need to at some point, adjust the bobbin tension for thicker threads, and we'll cover that later, then buy yourself a second bobbin case and mark it with some nail varnish. Then you can turn this screw over a bowl so you don't lose the screw. If you lose the screw you're going to have to buy another bobbin case, and then you will be able to adjust the bobbin tension. But for the time being, leave the bobbin tension exactly as it's set up. You insert the bobbin case for this machine here. It's a vertical bobbin case and it slots in there. If you hold on to the top thread, turn the flywheel then you can pull the bobbin thread up to the top and push both threads to the back. So now the machine's threaded up, we can put the presser foot down, and you can see that's holding the fabric quite securely. Now it may be that if you're working with a thicker fabric, perhaps you're doing some quilting, you want a better ease of movement. And to do that, you can release some of the pressure on the presser foot. On this machine, you do it with a knob at the side. And you can see now with that fully lifted, it's not touching the fabric at all. If we set it back to normal, we can now begin to stitch. The stitch length is set quite low at the moment, so we get lots of tiny stitches, but by twisting a dial on the side, you can extend the length of those stitches to be 5 millimeters. You can also see that if I let go of the fabric, it guides quite smoothly through the machine. In order to begin free machine embroidery, you'll have to change this dressmaking foot for a darning foot. This is my darning foot, and you can see that it's a circular metal foot. Other feet might have a horseshoe with a gap in the centre here. Others might be made of clear perspex and be oval, larger, smaller. I think each person gets used to their own foot. Those with a horseshoe-shaped foot will say that they can see more, but then it does tend to get caught in loosely woven fabrics, whereas a closed-toe foot doesn't. Similarly, people with perspex feet also say they can see more. It's just a question of what you get used to. The second thing you need to be able to do for free machine embroidery is lower these feed dogs. On some machines there's a plate that you put over the top to cover them, but on this one there's a button on the side that will just drop them like so. And now you're ready to start free machining. That's the end of the first video, and we covered threading up the machine, a couple of the presser feet, the pressure on the presser feet, the bobbin, inserting the bobbin and the bobbin tension, and lowering the feed dog or covering them with a plate. In the next video we'll look at the top tension, we'll look at different needles, and we'll begin to start stitching.